All right. Hope everybody's doing well. It's Wednesday night. What a long day. Just checking on my beer here. I'm drinking a Stella tonight. Didn't have any IPAs in the fridge, so drinking a Stella. And it kind of goes with my Auntie Grace too. Stella loved my Auntie Grace. My Auntie Grace loved traveling to England and Europe, so this is in honor of my Auntie Grace. Have Beethoven playing in the background. That was her favorite music. She'd sit down at nighttime before going to bed. Not every night, but probably quite a bit. She would, have a glass of wine and some cheese and crackers or sausage or whatever before going to bed a lot of times. After dinner, maybe a late snack or something like that. She was really cool. Hey, Debbie. So that's who this is. Who has inspired me to do this today was my Auntie Grace. Why her? Well, I was trying to figure out why does this involve any of Black Lives Matters or anything like that. Out there to my brothers and sisters who are Black, Hispanic, Asian, gay, lesbian, old, young, whatever. Here's to all of you guys. All right, cheers. Hey, Debbie. Cheers to you too. And we need to have another night where we can have a drinking. We need to get together and have another drinking night. That was a fun night the last time that we hung out. So another event like that would be cool. So going back to second grade. I better turn this music down just. I feel like I'm yelling now. Alright, sorry about that. So going back to second grade. I don't know, that was weird. Anyway, sorry about that. So going back to second grade. This is when it all starts. So I had Mrs. Falk for second grade, and this has got to be 74 or something like that. 75, maybe 75. Yeah, 75 probably. So what happens is it's recess time or lunch time, and we go outside for recess. And when I go outside, all I see is this kid, Stanley. And all he's doing is running towards his house from the school. I'm on the back side of the school where my classroom was nearby. And it's kind of like the playground's right in the back there, and he's kind of like running towards the back of the background. So and some of the kids were making some name calling or whatever. I just came out there during that time, and hey, Heinz, brother. So he's running as fast as he can to his house. I didn't know why. I don't recall why or anything like that. But the kids were making fun of him, teasing him and bullying him or something like that. What was going on, I don't know. I just came out, and everybody's kind of started hanging out. I didn't know why or anything like that. But Rob, this other guy, he was kind of like a bully. He came out and seen me hanging out there too, and everybody kind of was just left the area, and I didn't know really kind of what was going on. But Rob kind of thought I was involved in it somehow. Peace, brother. And so when he seen me, so he started saying something to me, and I said, I don't have any involvement. I don't know, whatever, 7-year-old little punk ass kids saying to each other as what we do. And so recess is done. We go back inside. The end of the school day is done. And so, take these off so I can see a little bit better here. There. Thank you. So, we're done for school. So I had to walk down Marquette towards my house on Normandy. So, on the corner of the school, there's a duplex there, a little brick duplex. I go by there every time I go home. It's funny too, because that's the place that this occurrence happens. So I'm walking. I usually walk all the time by my friend James Paul. Him and I would walk to school and back home every day. But for some reason, James and I didn't walk home for school that day. And so when I got to that kind of like that point where that corner was, Rob was there with the two other guys, or two other, 7-year-old boys. And, of course, you can be tougher when you're amongst other friends. So they took me by the shirt and threw me up against the wall of the house. And, he was like saying, I'm going to kick your ass, Actually, he was the type of boy that would say bad words at that time. I didn't say bad words at that time. I didn't do that. I got in trouble for saying shit one time in front of my mom, I think. And I got in trouble. Ooh. That was the last time I said that. But anyways, so Rob had me up against the wall with his two friends on each side of him. And he's going to kick my ass. So, no punches are thrown yet or anything like that. But here's my Auntie Grace. She used to teach at the school. So she would get done with her class, get in her car, drive down Marquette to Chippendale, down Chippendale to her house on the corner of Chippendale and 11 Mile. So when I was walking home, sometimes I would see her and I'd wave. Well, this particular day, I would say my Auntie Grace was probably 61 years old. And that's why I showed the picture today, because she was probably about 4 or 5 years young. Let's see. She was probably about 5 years younger in that picture. But she, here my Auntie, she was a very sweet. My grandmother would call her square, because my Auntie Grace wouldn't do anything bad. No, she thought it was rude if you farted, probably. That's how she was. But a very loving person, and my grandmother used to say, that if Queen Elizabeth would walk over to her house, she could probably eat off the floor. That's how my Auntie Grace would have the house, and it was all kind of like blue and white, British kind of like feel to it also. Anyways, but she toots her horn, toot toot, and her, I think it was a Mercury Montego or something like that at the time, like 72 Mercury Montego or whatever she had at the time. Well, toot toot, rolls down the window. Johnny, do you need a ride home? It was so funny. I look over at my Auntie Grace. I look at Rob. And they let go of me, of course, because they knew my Auntie Grace, too. She was a teacher. And so, there, I go, Why, of course, Auntie Grace. I walk over there. And I got a ride home from Auntie Grace. She goes, when I get in the car, I'm trying to remember. She knew what was going on. And she was just like, so are you okay? And I was just like, yes. I didn't say nothing. I was just, yes. I was just very silent. So, I mean, that was my, hey, Ricky, Mejia. So that was my Auntie Grace saving me, all right? And the whole story kind of goes back to Stanley, all right? I didn't pick on kids at that time or anything like that. That wasn't my thing. And actually, that was kind of like against my character, I guess, because that just wasn't me. There was, because I was in Cub Scouts, probably at that time and stuff like that. And Desert G. Hey, how you doing, bro? So, I just didn't do that, And I had a buddy, his name was James, or Jimmy Boner. I know. He got teased all the freaking time over that one, bro. And so, but Jimmy, he was kind of odd character too. And so, I think, he was picked on a lot. But I became his friend because his father was coach of the Cub Scout team, of our softball team. So that's how I got to know Jimmy and his father really liked me. So I was really good in baseball. I wanted to be a baseball player all my life, well, up until, the Marine Corps, or, probably earlier than that, but I wanted to be a baseball player. I practiced probably 2 to 4 hours a day throwing the ball to myself at one of those little those web things that, you throw the ball to and it springs it back to you. So I used to play all the friggin' time. And I was a pitcher on our team, and I was pretty good at baseball at that time. Until I realized there was a lot of other people when I got older that was much better than me. Pitch back. Oh, yeah. Did you play baseball too, Debbie? So I got to really know Jimmy, and the problem with Jimmy was, I hate to say stuff about other people, but he kind of had a bad habit during that time. I'm sure he grew out of it. Cool. You look like a baseball player too. You're a tough girl. I remember you with those trough games where you're a tough girl. So cool. I can respect that. So, but Jimmy had a bad habit of picking his nose. So, I talked to him and just, dude, stop that, But him and his father, we would all hang out, and so he was a really good person too. So I just thought, when I'm going on here, I don't know how long, but I just thought when I was silent, basically, for Stanley, I didn't really stick up for him. I didn't really say stop it or anything like that. I was silent. And I was probably silent for a lot of times of other people being picked on or being bullied. I didn't stick up for them. And, it's really kind of disgraceful, thinking back about it, where, believe me, I got in some fights. I've gotten in a lot of fights when I was in elementary school, and I have no idea why. I'm going to have to think about that someday. But anyways, being silent on something that's not great is just as wrong as committing the crime. So this is my feeling too, back in the 70s watching Starsky and Hutch and Hill Street Blues and all those cop shows during that time. Nobody likes a snitch, right? Fuck that. I'm sorry for cursing here. But you know what? If somebody's doing something illegal, fuck that. Snitch their asses out. You know what? I don't have any friends that do illegal shit. I'm sorry. And that's how I feel about cops. If they see something that's going wrong, you're a cop. You're supposed to protect and serve. So being silent's not as good either. So, and that's why I go out to the Black Lives protests on Wednesdays, or I try to make some kind of awareness about it, is being silent about it is not cool for me either. I want to bring some awareness to no racism, That's why I wear my black sock, white sock, no racism. So, this is what I'm going to do for Wednesdays, I'm going to continue talking about racism and believe me, my past is not perfect either, I will talk about that, on another broadcast. I'll talk about that one next time. My first street fight, I'll talk about that next Wednesday, because that's a really sad one, actually. Sad on my part. But as long as I learn from these things, and I learned actually quite quickly on that one, and I'll explain that one too. But going back to my Auntie Grace, saving for me from getting my ass kicked that day, thank you. And cheers to you, Auntie Grace. And I hung out with her a lot during that time. My mom passed away a couple years prior to that. So I stayed a lot with my Auntie Grace. She took me in because it was easy for school. So she took my sister Lisa and I in so that we can still continue on the school year. So have a lot of respect for her. She actually treated me like her son. So it was really cool. And and I don't like bullies. And so going on, I'm going to go on for a couple more minutes on this. So I did stick up to bullies here and there up until I joined the Marine Corps. I picked my battles, or what I could do, what I couldn't do, what I had the courage to do, I guess, at that time. But when I joined the Marine Corps, it gave me a lot more courage. So that's why I believe that Marine Corps really helped me out on a lot of things. It gave me a lot of courage to stand up for myself, stand up for other people. And when I joined the Marine Corps, I was thinking during that time, I'm a Reaganite or Reagan person, not all the way. I don't believe in his economics fully, so. But we didn't know at that time until years later, or at least I didn't know. So I was ignorant at the time. But when you go to school and you try to learn about history and finances and stuff like that, you just learn a little bit more about economics. And that's why I got my AA, Associates of Arts. So I got my Associates of Arts from Valley College with an AA in economics. And I hated economics at the time, but I kind of enjoy it now. I'm a geek on that stuff. So, the Marine Corps gave me courage to stick up. Oh, so going back to part of the reasons why I joined the military anyways, and the Reagan influence also, was that I believed at that time that the United States, with having such massive power, that we're the police of the world. And like in Spider-Man and all these, I think it's in Spider-Man mostly. If you ever watch Spider-Man, the movies, I think the uncle says, with great power comes great responsibility. So that's how I believe the United States. With the power of the United States, we have great responsibility in the world. And that's part of the reason why I kind of joined the Marine Corps, was I thought, the Marine Corps was part of the police of the world. And that I could, I didn't want to be the police officer of my town at the time. I wanted to get out of my town in Grayling at the time and explore the world and help out, the country in that way. So that's how my belief was when I joined. So and stick up, for those countries that couldn't stick up for themselves, be part of that, be against the bullies of the world. And that's and the bullies of the world. I only studied on one fighting at that time. We studied at Fort Irwin, the biggest complex outside of Russia that had more weapons than anywhere outside of Russia. And that's what we studied. It was study how to defeat Russia. And we learned about their tactics at that time, their motives, we studied all that during that time. And to see Putin and the history of Putin and stuff like that, and how he wants to develop the USSR again, and I really have any kind of tough feelings for the Russians government. I love the people of Russia. I have friends that, which was kind of weird when I got out of the Marine Corps. I used to hang out with this group called Brother. And they had a group of friends that was in the Kit Kat commercial during that time that were like the Russians, and they were, the Kit Kat commercial time, back in, I guess, 92, 91, 92, 93, something like that. And they were all Russians. And we would go listen to Brother, and they would play, and we'd go hang out in Hollywood during that time. And, they were all Russians. And one of them was Igor, was actually in the, I think they were all in the military, but I think Igor was the one one of the Igors, the shorter one, I would talk to a little bit more than the other guys. But just wanted to get that out there, and the reasons why I do the things I do on Wednesdays, and hopefully everybody's taking care of themselves. I haven't watched any of the news today, so I don't know how the weather's doing out there. I've been hearing a little bit more about Iowa. I hope my friends in that area are doing well. And I think it was called a Darachi or something like that, or Daracho or something. So I just hope everybody's taking care of themselves during this time, during this, I don't know if you know this, but where I live right now, outside, it's only about 9,000 degrees. Maybe a little bit less than that, but it feels like it's a little bit hotter than that. It's really hot out there, so if you're out here in the desert, in the Antelope Valley, hopefully you're taking care of yourself. And if you're on the East Coast, hopefully you're doing well on the storms, and everybody else in between. Love you guys. Take care. And I'll see you guys next Wednesday on No Racism. All right? Take care. Peace. Bye. Love you.